Hello, and I'm going to take a look at the scale test again because this is scale test version 2. Now there have been quite a few changes to the map, and the first part of that is to the layout of the objectives and the spawns. So this is the original map that we had in version 1, and now if we look at the map for version 2 you'll see the differences. So the first thing to note is that both spawns have been moved closer to the objectives. The Russian spawn has been moved north and the US spawn has been moved to the east. So now they're a bit closer to their gimme objectives and they're on the road straight to them. The D objective has also moved. That's moved slightly further to the west. It's still in the logging camp, but they've kind of stretched the logging camp out a bit so that it's a bit closer to sea. So the best way to take a look at this is to go into spectator mode, and I'm going to try and follow the same path that I took in the first video. This first point hasn't really changed, but what you will notice is there's a lot more foliage and undergrowth and trees on this version of the map than there was on the previous one. The only real change to the positioning of the flag is this flag here at D. So they've shuffled the logging camp along and the flag is now actually by the road rather than in the logging camp. So it's much easier to capture with vehicles. C hasn't really changed, neither has the waterfall in the background, which is still coming off a promontory rather than cutting its way into a cliff. But you'll notice at C there's a lot more bushes on these hills. It's less of a sniper map now. This is more of a real test of the map than the previous version was. Flag at B hasn't changed, this is still quite open, but there you can see one of the big changes, a helicopter flying over the top, and the fact that we now have buildings at the medical centre. These buildings do have a feel of Paracel Storm, the B flag, and in fact it plays quite a lot like the B flag, but it is a bit more out of the way, so firefights there aren't as common. But as you can see, it's a much more developed version of that stage 1 map. So the trees are actually quite thick. They do block line of sight for trying to get stinger hits on those helicopters. But the biggest thing you'll notice is there's no massive hill in the middle of the map anymore. The big tall rocky outcrop in the middle had to go once the transport helicopters were put on the map. It was inaccessible any other way, so if you kept the big hill and the transport helicopters, it would just have been a sniper perch, a bit like Dragon's Teeth. C is still the best place on this map for a firefight. The buildings might need to be a bit toughened up, or maybe some not destructible structures in here, but I think the idea is that everything on this map can be flattened. That's what the devs seem to be saying, that when you start off it's going to be a jungled, impassable, hard to see map, but once you've been playing on it for a while it's going to be basically a wasteland where you can see everything everywhere. All the trees, all the buildings are pretty much going to be destructible. But I guess tanks and RPGs really are going to mess up trees and wooden buildings, so it's going to be realistic. And we've seen in Hardline that explosives not taking out wooden fences and cars being stopped by bushes is actually quite frustrating. I'm not really sure about the helicopters. Yes, they fit in with the Vietnam feel that they want, but they do make it far too easy to flank around on this map. The map is quite small, and I think the dirt bikes and jeeps were actually doing a pretty good job of providing flanking routes and getting to flags quickly. But that's just my personal preference. I like ground-based maps. The map does play really well. The inclusion of the extra cover means that snipers and tanks aren't just killing people across the map anymore, and because of its scale I think it is going to play well on consoles as well. So all in all, this is turning out to be a really good map, and I think when it gets the textures and gets more of a feel of the jungle, it's going to be even better. But I'll keep you updated with the progress of this community map project. Thanks for watching.